The Morning Brew podcast with Jaffe and Razor, sponsored by Berkshire Bank Home Lending. Where you borrow matters. Well, I think I said the same type of thing last year after the last game of the season, after the last playoff game, is that it's always an odd feeling that day after the season ends. I always likened it to the school being let out when you were a youngster, where that next day you're kind of like, this is awesome. Wait, what do I do with myself now type of thing. And what just happened and what did I think about it? And so that's kind of where I am. And I don't mean that's awesome as in the Bruins season is over. So welcome you into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, presented by Berkshire Bank. And as always, we will hit on our great sponsors a little bit later in the show. I don't mean, Razor, that it's awesome that the season's over. I'm disappointed. I am thoroughly disappointed that the Bruins lost, bummed, etc. However, it's nice to know that I had a day off where I was like, oh, I could sleep in a little and didn't have to worry. Now, it's not like you and I don't have other shit going on soon, real soon. And I would give really just about anything for the Bruins to keep playing into round two and to see what happens there. But I think they got beat by a better team. I know they did. And it was, besides a definitive homer series, which we know it was, I think we saw some things that just came out a few too often times for this team in the playoffs. And so anyways, let's just talk. How do you feel the day after the season's over? And how did you feel as a player the day after the season was over?
There's relief. There's a little bit of relief in there. There's way more relief now than there was, as a player. But as a player, you have that too. You wake up and you have that, there's nothing on my calendar today. And it's funny, that season feels so far away the minute it ends. Like, right. Even today, like the Bruins season feels like a long time ago today.
By the way, was this one of the longest seasons? I mean, I know
it was ridiculous.
Oh my
crazy,
God.
Right? And that's the other. I think when you're in the middle of it, you don't recognize it, and then when the day it's done, it's like, wow, that training camp was a long time ago. That was just a blur of my life. That I need to reset. And so relief, reset, and then you go through the series and you think about it, but it'll be random times when it comes up in your head over the next few weeks, and then when you start, what's going to happen is Carolina's going to win the next round, and then you start thinking about it even more in rounds 3 and 4. As you watch the teams go, and you're going to watch the Stanley Cup team win, and you're going to say, we were better than them. Man, we were so close. If we just this and that, we win this, and we probably win the Stanley Cup.
So you have some unrealistic, perhaps, thoughts at times.
You do, absolutely. I have them for all of the teams that I played on still, right? Like it's that thing where
we were this close.
Yeah, exactly. We were this close, but yes, today the players have a little relief. They're, Sunday, I'm sure they either went to the Celtics game or they celebrated the Celtics game. They're going to celebrate hard. They're going to have their meetings. They're going to go hard, and they're getting out of town.
Right.
That's the other good thing. You look forward to getting out of town as a player. Like, I couldn't wait to get home, and, you get to go vacation, see your friends and that stuff.
A lot of the guys have the ability to do that. There's a decent amount, though, that don't right now, as their children are still in school. Mm-hmm. And maybe the wife and they can take a little trip somewhere to get away, and somebody can watch the kids for a week or so. But yeah, I get it. I do. Relief is a good word. I go back to this. I mean, we knew that this was going to be a long season heading into it when you just looked at the Olympic break. And I guess the unknown of what COVID was going to do to the league schedule. We found out there was a lot of angst in the first half of this year. Go back and you think about it. Think about all the, the conversations there was about, are we going to be in Olympics? Is there even going to be an Olympics? Is what's going to happen to a team? And then we saw a team like the Islanders go through it and see 12 guys go on the COVID list. So every team then is in the, oh shit, when's it going to happen to us? And the Bruins were no different. Anyways, the year just kept going and going. And then you realized it was mid-May and we are just touching the first round. And you're like, oh my God, it's freaking long. It's long. But Bruins didn't end well. Let's talk game 7. It wasn't a good ending. I know they pushed hard at the end. And the first period, we all said it on Nesson. Not bad. Pretty good first road period, right? No, it was pretty good, but ... But I just didn't like that second period, and I sure didn't love a lot of the third period, Razor. When I am not saying the guys didn't try. I'm not going to go there. I won't do that, so don't, but I didn't feel like they had it. And I think they almost knew it again against what we all determined was a better Carolina team.
They were far superior on home ice.
On home ice, yes, on home ice,
and that's the difference. That's why you play the regular season, to have that opportunity. If you are a team that is far superior than the other on home ice, then that's your advantage. And Carolina took advantage of it. I truly thought that at some point that was going to give. I thought that was going to go the other way. It's almost never happened in history of hockey where the home team got so much puck luck. Yeah. You watch the other series where things were going back and forth, home ice, road ice, how pucks were going in for different goalies, different teams. Didn't happen in this series. And as much as I guess I was hoping with my heart, I really did with my head think that the Bruins are going to find a way to punch that 2-on-0 or the 2-on-1 from haul it in, and that was going to change what the game looked like. But it just wasn't the case. It's actually quite incredible. And to your point, 2-0. We knew it though. We knew it. If Carolina gets up 2-0 at home,
right,
the Bruins are done. Like, we knew that, and you're watching and you're hoping that again maybe it'll change, but we did know that, and Carolina proved that to us, because to your point, 2 minutes into the 3:10 into the second period, the game was over essentially.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, Teuvo Teravainen scores a goal late in the first 18.5-minute mark, 18:36 to be exact. Stretch play, Bruins don't cover well. Goes behind the net, the low to high play, and then a pump it to the net type of, Teravainen ends up scoring in front. Domi with the nice assist. And then it's Domi. Jesus, Max Domi becomes, like a cult hero in Raleigh after that game, scoring at 3:14 in the second period. And it was essentially over then, even when DeBrusk made it 2-1. Just a little bit after that. I mean, at 5:04, it just didn't feel.
The response after that proved that it was done. At that minute, you're thinking, all right, this is the game that it's going to change. This is the game that's going to be like all the other series where teams came back from 2-0 and shocked the home team or shocked the team that was leading. And you thought that at the second the puck went in DeBrusk, and then 2 shifts later, you're like, no, this is exactly what we thought it was. This is it. This is the Carolina. This is the Bruins.
Yeah.
Game's done.
Well, and that's when, and Max Domi again scores the goal. This time after the Bruins' third line, who had a very tough game, and we'll discuss that, just have the puck dumped in on him, and 4 guys, essentially 5, but it was one guy had already been engaged in the corner. A defenseman. It may have been Riley. I don't remember. But then 4 guys are just watching. And this comes, they're just watching as Domi's literally in the mid-slot area. Like an area that you never get the puck without 2 seconds or a second to shoot it. You know what I mean? He couldn't believe how open he was.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a one-timer. Goaltender Swayman couldn't get over to his left quickly enough. Had he been down a little too soon, again, I'm not splitting hairs here. I mean, that guy can't be that wide open in the middle of the slot right there. I don't think so.
No, and especially when you're the line that made a terrible defensive play on the first goal too. So that's as
right.
as bad of the problem or the issue as anything else is that it's that same three guys twice making egregious defensive plays in essentially 10 minutes of hockey time.
Right. So, all right, let's get right to the Coyle line. Coyle, Craig Smith, and Trent Frederick. By the way, before the third goal, before Domi's second goal of the game, Frederick had hit the net, glove side on Antiranta. I'm sorry, hit the post. And it led then to transition the other way. And the Bruins, there was a little bit of a blown tire in the neutral zone. Was it by Coyle and Frederick had committed up, and then next thing you know, they're going the other way. But does that performance identify that line? Meaning, does it put him into a place of, and I'm not trying, I really don't want to go too far into the offseason stuff because we're going to have another show looking ahead and the offseason ahead. But Razor, does that shift, and that game, does that game not shine a good light on them? Make it tougher on them for, hey, we needed clutch performance and we didn't get it there.
I would say the whole series, really, right? They were very important going in. Frederick has to sit for 3 games because he's not doing the job. Like, I put Frederick in the same bowl as Forbort, where he can go through the regular season and there's going to be nights where it's a track meet and it's not his thing. It just doesn't. He's not going to stand out. He's not going to get points. He's not going to make too much of a difference on a Tuesday night in Florida in a 7-5 game. But come playoff time, that's why you're there. That's what kind of a player you are. And I think Forbort showed it, and I think Frederick showed it less. And that's hard for a player like that as a young guy to have to deal with this summer. Because, again, he's fighting for his life. You look at how many contracts the Bruins have. He's short money of all of the forwards. He's a guy that didn't show up, that had to sit out on the playoffs. And so that stings. And that's something that lingers. I think for the other two guys, they were all -6 in the series. It's not good enough. That's just that's the difference. In a 7-game series, you lose by 1 goal at the end. And that line that was so good in February, March is -6. So yeah, it's telling. I think I just went hard on Frederick a little bit, but I think he's in the hardest scenario. It's just being realistic. That's what it is. Coyle and Smith are looked at in different ways. So all 3 of them are individually looked differently because of a poor playoff. There is absolutely no question for that.
Cumulatively, Razor, in the playoffs at 5-on-5, Charlie Coyle was on the ice for 0 goals for and 7 against.
Crazy. That's bad. Like, that's bad.
Yeah. Craig Smith was on the ice for 1 for, 5 against. And Frederick, albeit at 5-on-5, he only played 33.5 minutes because you mentioned he missed the 3 games. He was on the ice for 0 goals for and 2 against at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to go into the rabbit hole or the abyss of Taylor Hall 2 and 8, 2 goals for, 8 against. Jake DeBrusk 1 goal for, 7 against. Funny, yet Jake DeBrusk was probably held in a higher regard given some of the other stuff that he did.
Well, I would also, and Coyle might fall into this basket too, but those empty net goals those are considered 5-on-5 goals. So that's Coyle, DeBrusk are out there for those ones, right? So they would eat a couple more.
Because earlier in the series, Coyle was he was bringing it more. He was. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that he's a 3rd-line center. I think it's pretty clear that's the ceiling.
That's what I was just going to say. That's the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's not even what it might have been at the end of 2019 playoffs when it was the exact opposite of the playoff series we just saw, where you're thinking, wow, this is, and that's what happens this summer. You get graded on these playoffs. It's the last thing everyone remembers. And you get contracts because of the playoffs, because people think that maybe you're a 2nd-line center, right? That's what they came out of 2019 thinking he might be able to make a step. Like, and now we're the opposite, where now you're like, all right, this is what he is. He's a 16-goal guy that plays pretty good defense for a centerman.
Yeah, and puck controlled when he, it can be a puck possession monster, a behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
But 40 to 50 points is going to be your go-to. You need 60 to 80 out of your second guy, 60 to 70.
And the game's changed, right? Puck possession's great. You need some of it, but you also need to you need to beat someone down the wall on normal basis.
So what do we take out of the series, so to speak? I know, home, no question. It was all about home ice because the Bruins were a better team and a different team at home, just like Carolina was. Was it Carolina's low to high game? Was it Carolina's stretching the point men? Was it the Carolina Hurricane ability to win net front battles at both ends of the ice that was the ultimate difference in the series? Can you put your finger on one or two of those that you would think says this is why? I also think, and I'll start.
Yeah, I want you to start.
I think it had an awful lot to do with the depth players from Carolina at home coming through. We saw some of that in Game 6 for Boston at home, right? We saw that, and that's what got us all. It was like, I guess that was like the little blue pill on that Game 6 for everybody. Everybody had a hockey woody over the fact that the Bruins came through as a depth, and it wasn't Patrice and Brad and whatever. But on the road, they just couldn't muster it up. I do think it was the depth players at home for Carolina, but I thought it was Carolina's ability to go with speed to go bring everything down low, and then when they brought it back up high, I was like, the Bruins just had a hard time deciphering what to do enough to close, to cover, and they didn't pick sticks and bodies up. I thought that was a huge difference.
My two things were down at the other end of the ice. Face-offs, first and foremost. They did not win. Patrice got smoked in the face-off. They did not win enough face-offs, and important ones, timely ones. I'm not sure. I don't even know exactly what the stats were, but I know I watched every one of those road games and felt like they were losing face-offs at important times. Power play, penalty kill.
Yeah.
And the other one is the Bruins' inability to sustain pressure in Carolina. So they weren't able to create any offense for more than 25 seconds, which put too much pressure on them defensively. It was your best offense is defense. A lot of times that's what the Bruins are. They win their faceoffs. They control the puck for most of the shift in the offensive zone. The team has to go and chip it in and change. Mm-hmm. In this in these road games, Carolina's win the faceoff. They're getting it out of their zone, and they're going in the Bruins zone, and then the Bruins are chipping it in and changing, and Carolina's getting it right out of the zone, dumping it back in, and they're getting in on the pressure. And the Bruins started every shift defensively, and that just really and that's what led to those low to high plays. That's what led to those goals around the net. So it just stood out more that I thought about it today, how little, and we did talk about it at Nesson, but it's just hard to verbalize and it's hard to show over and over again how little time the Bruins really had in the offensive zone in Carolina. And we've seen it so often in the Garden where they get rolling and the team chips it out and then they go back in and the next wave comes up. We didn't see, I don't remember a 5 or 10 minute stretch where that happened in Carolina in all 4 games.
Well, they never did because the Bruins also didn't handle adversity well there. So they would get scored on after they had beautiful starts. Really, if you want to call Game 7's first period, we called it a very solid start at Nesson in the intermission. Yeah. It maybe wasn't as at times. I mean, Game 1, 2, and 5, the Bruins at times you literally dominated early. But that was still, what was the longest that ended up going? I mean,
yeah, it was Game 2 where the first 4 lines had opportunities.
We had 6 minutes there. 6 minutes before that goal was scored.
It was that was literally the only time that I can remember where we were like, "Oh, here we go. They're rolling. They're turning it over," and it just didn't last long enough. There's no second periods like that at all. And that's where you really take advantage.
Right, they were smothered in last night, and we showed it a bit in the third period until the Bruins got frenetically desperate. And then Pasternak scores that goal and everything happens. But the last 3 minutes, when they pulled the goalie before Pasta's goal, that was about it. I mean, but that was helter-skelter at that point. Whereas you're right, they never did go. They got smothered. I mean, the back pressure of Carolina, and then the length of the D-men shutting him off. It was they never did. You're right, but it was always like. But here's another thing, just to support your point about faceoffs for Patrice in particular. First 2 games, he was at 40%. 40. Game 5, 44%. Game 7, he ended up going 14 for 27. So he got to 52%. This is a guy that was at 63% during the regular season.
Yeah, which means he was mixing in like 10 of 11 nights, like 10 and 1 nights.
Right.
13 and 2 nights. And that makes a big difference, makes a huge difference for that group.
And so different at home, too. You brought it up earlier. We talked about it, too. The fact that the Boston Bruins could not execute their face-off plays nearly as often as they did. One of the great things about the Bruins face-off play or plays is that there's a multitude of them. And so when you're winning a lot of face-offs, it's not just the same play they go to all the time. And that's what discombobulates a defense so much, in that they're like, oh, shit, he won it again. Wait, this time McAvoy's going down the wall, but he's not passing it back. He's taking it behind the net. And, this time it's Marchand and Pastrnak, switching. And so they would win an infrequent one in the ozone in this series. And it worked that one time, right? It worked at the Garden. But on the road, they would win it once, and Carolina would nullify it, and then they never had to think about it again. It was almost like Carolina said, "All right, if you win one in our own zone, fine. We're gonna man up," and they did. They went hard man to man. That was another thing. Their man to man didn't get broken down. I think I'm saying the same thing as you did, in not being able to spend a lot of time in their zone. The Bruins in the old day Bruins would cycle the shit out of it, open up teams, and break down a man to man like. It was me tearing into a chicken parm sandwich, no problem. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They couldn't. All right, so those are our takes there. Speaking of chicken parm, let's segue quickly into Tresca in the north end, because they got a great chicken parm. They also got a veal parm there, the Ray Bork special, and they got many other things. And we've loved having Chef Rich and Tresca in the north end, the place that Ray Bork, you never know, because you might see Raymond there, one of the owners of it, came on board for the playoffs. We really thank them. You also, if you want to get any of Tresca's sauces, you can hit up Market Baskets, Whole Foods, Roach Brothers, Big Y, and a lot of other small markets in the area. But to really enjoy Tresca, go to the Tresca in the North End on Hanover Street. I know, Razor, you and I, maybe sometime during the playoffs, we'll go there one night, sit at the bar. I'm not heading on the road for this week a little bit, but then I got about 7-8 days at home. Maybe we can get hit there with the wives.
Love it.
Maybe we set them up on the table 77 on the balcony table overlooking Hanover. You and I sit at the bar and enjoy some beverages. That would go over well. Go to TrescaNorthend.com. Check out the menu. Check out everything you want. Get a reservation. Go say hi to Chef Rich over there and tell him the guys from Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor sent you over there. Also, make sure to check out Fazenda Coffee at FazendaCoffee.com. They still got a couple of mugs left. FazendaCoffee.com/Morning Brew. You order yourself $45 or more, you get a free mug sent in as well. And you could also, if you work your way through the website, I think there's a way you can order a mug for simply $20 or $25 too without the coffee. But why do that when you can have some of the best coffee?
You got to. I mean, you're there. I mean, get the coffee.
And there was a fan, and I should know, a listener on social that said something about that they had tried a certain blend. I got to get it. I can't pull it up right now, but said it was awesome. You said, Jaffe, you guys have got to try this blend. Well,
love it.
There's so many different blends there. A couple of light ones, a lot of medium and medium dark, and then my favorite, I like the medium dark roast ones. Get whole bean, get your ground, whatever. Go to FazendaCoffee.com. They're right in Dedham. They're Boston specialty coffee roaster, and they are fantastic people. And we can't thank them enough for being with us all, the second half of the year. Fazenda Coffee is wonderful. FazendaCoffee.com/Morning Brew. Also, Bay State Brewing coming on board the last 10 games or so of the regular season. Thank you to them and the playoffs. Go visit them at in the Canal District, 112 Harding Street in Worcester, right down the street from the new Woo Sox ballpark. They have got tons of different beers. They've even got seltzer too. I've got one of the nice seltzers back here, but as I look over at the Becky Like Smell Double IPA, you got to I'm telling you, just taste it. Sometimes IPAs, Razor, can be so heavy and so strong. These are mild. These are nice. Speaking of mild, the Mike Light, we had that the other night too, just outstanding. Go there, order a couple of beverages, and in the meantime, also order a smash burger, order some of their pizzas, their salads, everything they got. They got some top-notch food. 112 Harding Street in Worcester. Bay State Brewing, and go to baystatebrewing.com. Thank you to them. And lastly, a huge thanks as well to Max Pro Hockey. Just saw Max Grachev earlier today. We had a wonderful time, little training session. Go check out maxprohockey.com. He offers individual, private, small group sessions, in-season group training, off-ice training, and always with a smile on his face. I don't know how the hell he does it, Razor. Like, the guy's constantly doing it on the ice and always smiling, always happy. Doesn't raise his voice once. It's like it's a freak. Like me, I'm on the ice for 6 seconds and the voice is coming up.
I think about going on the ice for 6 seconds. I'm ready to scream at someone.
Oh, Max Grachev does a great job. If you have a young player or even a not so young player, go contact Max Grachev at maxprohockey.com. Thank you to all of them for a wonderful season. Overall, your take, Razor, on the goaltenders in the playoffs for the Boston Bruins. What were they?
Good. Average. Good. Better than average.
Okay, we just covered an awful lot right there.
Yeah, I took care of all of those. None of them were Vasilevsky. None of them were Jake Ottinger this season. Surprise takeover.
How good has he been?
He's been great. Again, 23-year-old kid. Just making enough, and he might lose in Game 7 as well. We haven't got to that game yet, but none of the game. There wasn't one game that they stole. And as a goaltender, you get what you're given. There's times, and that's the hard part of the position. You can't take over. You can't be Connor McDavid. You can't be a Vasilevsky if it's not presented to you. It wasn't presented to the goaltenders here. I think very similar to both Ullmark and Swayman still. I don't think either one of them pulled away. I know the numbers are going to look a little ugly to Ullmark, but I don't think that's indicative of his game. I think it was very similar to Swayman's game. And it wasn't Tuukka Rask for anyone out there who doesn't like Tuukka. I think you should be able to appreciate that he might have found a way to win one of those games. I don't know how, I don't know where, but that's when you're playing a 7-game series and you lose by a goal. You also do have to look at the goaltender and not blame them. I thought they were both very good and fine, but the guys who separate themselves this time of year, the guys who become great, find ways to win series.
I think I would say they were fine to good. Swayman had a couple of very good moments, but in not hindsight, but having that step back moment that we've both had now, since we didn't record this Saturday, doing this on Sunday evening, that they were both good, fine. Yeah. That's it. And that's not good enough. But I think that's also indicative of the team.
Yeah.
It was at times fine, at times good to very good, but not enough. Who is the Bruins' best player in this series? Statistically, it was Brad Marchand and points, goal and leading them in goals and an assist. Was he their best player overall?
I think this is, and this probably is a bit of an indictment. I am not exaggerating when I say that. I think of Derek Forbort in this series. And it's not like I think he
played his role the best, and he was the most consistent in his role.
Yes, yeah, and I feel like he made a monster difference. Listen, you can't avoid Brad Marchand scoring 10 points at home in 3 games. You can't avoid that.
I thought Bergeron was very good for a while. I thought that he was at times muted on the road, as you already discussed about faceoffs.
Yeah. You know what? McAvoy too, right? McAvoy was really good.
I was going to say, I love your point about Forbert. I think Derek Forbert of going in and saying, "Give me this in that role." Derek Forbert exceeded that the most.
I think if you have 4 Derek Forberts, Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm all series, you win.
Yeah. Well,
And they
I don't
didn't get
know.
that. They didn't get that.
No, they didn't get that. I'm with you, and we went in, and that's an indictment on that second pair, because Derek is a third pair guy.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that's an indictment on whoever was on the second pair. Then I mean, when we talked about the third line and the second pair being gigantic key components to the success of this series, and I think they got let down in both areas. Razor.
Yeah, I do. I think the second line performed as well as their second line did. I think they matched up well enough.
I thought that it was inconsistent, but again,
Trocheck, Teravainen,
they were inconsistent.
They did nothing for me. They did nothing for me.
Well,
right? Like
Teravainen scored in game. He had. I'm with you. Teravainen had a couple of beautiful home games, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Trocheck, he had a bunch of points, but a lot more at home, and then he had some dumb stuff too.
Yeah, and you got the empty netters, and just the same. What my point is, it's even.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there, bud. I am with you there. The third line, the Stahl line. I mean, I would say Jordan Stahl. I know Antti Ranta was their MVP of that series, despite missing a few games, but to my eyes, he was exceeded any expectations I had for the guy. But I thought Jordan Stahl and Jacob Slavin, but Stahl was the one. I just thought he set the tempo, the tone, the attitude in so many ways. And by the way, I thought at times his line, even like Niederreiter, wasn't great. You still I didn't notice Niederreiter at all when they were at the Garden. No. I still noticed Jordan Stahl. I did.
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent. But I think you make a great point about Forbert and McAvoy. Charlie had the one game when he comes back off of COVID. It wasn't bad. He just wasn't Charlie. That's how spoiled we are.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I'm with you. Derek Forbert, good call. All right. Well, it was a fun run. We will do a season in review show coming up within a week. All right. I'm heading on the road for a couple of days. You're going to get your schedule settled. We're going to do a season in review. We'll dive into it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we have a guest. Maybe we don't. But overall, this series, I leave disappointed, thinking that this team had a little bit more. Realizing I'm not sure they do, though, Razor. Realizing that using, at least I have the moments of you never know, right? What can happen? I mean, we knew going in the Bruins were the underdog, but I didn't think they were that much of an underdog. Yes, they make it to Game 7. It's just a really good team is going to have to win one on the road. Look, freaking Pittsburgh Penguins without playing their third string goalies has won games. Yes, they barfed up a lead. Right now, we're recording this show, and they're actually winning on the road in Game 7. Still don't know what's going to happen. But a great team has to do it. It has to accomplish that. And the Bruins didn't come, despite the score in Game 7, I don't think they really ever came close.
No, and I think that's my biggest disappointment of it is they weren't close on the road. Like, it was so lopsided on the road that they never even really gave themselves a chance to win the series in hindsight.
Right.
You gave hope. I had a lot of hope that again, the 7th game, they hung around. They could have lost in 5 games very easily in this series.
Yep.
And you would say, all right, they were the underdogs. They didn't get a goalie steal. It just didn't go their way. The fact that they got to Game 7 and had a chance to be the underdog and really figure a way out of it, and they didn't because of 2 bad defensive plays, that makes it more disappointing. I feel in general. Had they have just lost in Game 6 to a better team and Carolina went their way, you tip your hat. It's just a little disappointing the Bruins weren't able to find a way in Game 7. And then they did all the work to drag it to 7, where they really gave themselves a chance, and they didn't follow through. But it also lends itself to they weren't good enough, and they really they're not they do need to look themselves in the mirror a little bit.
Oh, big time. Yeah, no, there needs to be there needs to be, there will be changes. There need to be changes if this team is going to progress. And I think there are going to be some hard changes. By the way, just some numbers from the third game. Bruins really didn't, Frederick only played 8 minutes. Foligno played a little over 8 minutes. Nosek played 9.5 minutes. They went kind of 3 lines. They had no choice. Excuse me. We didn't think they were going to play. I guess Craig Smith only played 10. That third line match, they had no choice. Eventually, you can't play 2 lines.
Those guys have played
level.
352 and 355 at the end of the second. I remember that.
Yeah, you're right.
We were pounding it. Connor McDavid, by the way, played 27 minutes in Game 7 against the LA Kings. I know there's no Connor McDavids on this team, but 27 minutes, folks.
Yeah, he was a beast, Connor, the last 2 games in that series. He literally put the team on his shoulders, on his back, and said, F you to the LA Kings.
27 minutes.
And he was dominant. Nobody from the Bruins being dominant, though. Not in this one, on the road, at least, as they fall in 7 games, 4-3 to the Carolina Hurricanes. Razor, I think that's it. Anything else from the series? There's a ton of shit I'm sure that we could get to, but
yeah, most of it's focused now off season, right? Like that's what playoffs do too, is everything gets wound into, all right, this has to change, this has to change, this has to change, and nothing works, and everybody sucks because they didn't win the Stanley Cup.
Right. That is true. And you can't get totally caught up in that. But I do think there needs to be some changes.
Of course.
And we said when the season began, I'll remember we talked about this. I talked about how this was a crazy concoction of players that was brought in. And was this concoction going to be, like when your little kid makes it in the freezer, puts it in the freezer and you taste it, it's either delicious or disgusting. I kind of think it was somewhere in the middle. I think it really had some good bites
makes
to
it
it.
Tougher at times.
Which does make it tougher.
To find the ingredient you need to take out of it or put into it.
Well, I think it's pretty clear. There needs to be, in no particular order, a little more depth up front, a little more size, a little more snarl. I think so on this team too, physical. I don't think they're powerful. But again, let's wait for the off-season in review. One thing that we do need to touch on real quick is how are your friends in Toronto?
Thank God that happened.
Yeah.
We would a couple of the guys that are Bruins guys on my my hometown Viber thread that are my friends since grade 1. They were very concerned about a Bruins loss and a Leafs win. That would have made, but the fact that the Leafs lost has made a few of us happier, and all the rest of them suicidal because if they can't win it. But they got better. They keep telling themselves they got better, but no, they've literally basically my texts have been keep Matthews and Marner and get rid of everybody else. So they're being very rational.
The truth, the thing of it is Willie Nylander was really pretty damn good. That's the guy.
I know he can't even go to dinner tonight in Toronto.
Right.
He really can't, and he wasn't that bad.
I mean, what a crazy scenario there. But and I know you should never compare yourself to anybody, but just remember, Bruins fans, you could always be the Leafs. So I'm just kidding. All right, folks, that'll wrap up this one. Post-series, I should say, show. Bruins lose again 4-3 to the Carolina Hurricanes. A bummer way to end. Razor and I will be back with another Morning Bru with Jaffe and Razor soon for a season in review and in discussions to do some other stuff postseason, off-season as well. So just keep it posted to our social media. We'll inform you what we're going to do there. We're not going to go quiet for 8 months or anything. Don't worry. We'll be doing some other stuff. In the meantime, for the next couple of days, enjoy any brews that you missed. Go back and listen to those, please. Thank you for all of your support during this fantastic season. You fans, you listeners have been tremendous. We're going to look to make this bigger and better as much as we can. Open to any and all suggestions. If we like them, that is. If we don't, we'll ignore them. Anyways, I'm just kidding. I'm just being a smartass. Listen, everybody, try to have a wonderful day. I know everybody's disappointed. I am going to say this too. Congratulations to the Celtics on winning. Good for them. Rooting for the city, man. It's awesome. Good for the Celts taking it to the Eastern final. Everybody, we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your days, and especially enjoy your coffee on those days.